tell us a little about what Civolution is doing for television.
Yeah, so just kind of take a step back. So last quarter, we sold our audience measurement IP to for audience watermark IP to Cantor Media, part of WPP, obviously.
Yep.
So looking at Civolution, so that transaction allowed us to really start focusing on two key business areas. The first one is forensic marking, so the stuff we're doing with the studios. And the second one is Teletracks, and that's all about real-time TV analytics and TV synchronized advertising.
Okay, so I want to dive into the products, but I want you to demystify what you guys do and what ACR is for you, right? So like, Shazam is ACR,
correct?
Right?
Yeah.
But you're doing something a little bit different.
Absolutely.
You're listening all the time. You're not matching to a signal. You know, you've got an embedded signal, right? Like so. Just break it down a little bit more with simplicity for everybody.
So what we do, let's say, we use obviously ACR technology, right?
Right.
So what we do is not like Shazam, like on a device level kind of listening. So what we do is what we call server-side listening. So we have built this global network, right, of listening stations, and what we do is in real time we listen to all those TV signals at the broadcast headend level, right?
Yep.
And what we do in real time, use that information to do, let's say, smart decisioning on digital, so to kind of trigger digital buys in concert with what's happening on television.
Yep. So literally you are always on, and when a show runs, you can then signal the delivery of a digital ad around that show by the same advertiser for the purpose of frequency extension or reach extension.
Yep, amplify the message, you know, and increase the ROI of the ad spend.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Cantor investment. I mean, that is, you know, is that about enhancing the value of television, extending the value of television? Like, tell us a little bit about that, why that's, you know, a good partnership.
So, so the reason Cantor, let's say, bought that IP was just to kind of increase, let's say, their efficiency in their panel business, right? So they have a huge business outside of the US, because obviously, you know, Nielsen is like the leader in the US. But so outside of the US, they have a lot of panels, right? And what they do is, with our technology, they kind of make sure that all those, let's say, impressions are kind of measured, let's say, accurately, right?
Right. And so let's talk about the product and partnership you're doing with companies like Xaxis, right, for some of their advertisers. Because that's, I mean, you're a Dutch company, to be clear, right? So you've got a strong footprint in Europe. You've sort of, you know, been growing in the US. Tell me about the partnership and how that real-time data that you're drafting off of TV by listening is actually enabling programmatic increases in spend.
Absolutely. So in 2014, we have been very fortunate to work, let's say, across all, let's say, the four major advertisement companies, but Xaxis has definitely been kind of leading the charge, right? So Xaxis Sync, which was being launched last year in May, and so we, as Civolution, we power Xaxis Sync. So what we do is, so we identify those advertisements in real time, and Xaxis then use that information to start buying digital ads, right? And either for what we call simulcast, so there's like a BMW advertisement on TV, and then within a few seconds you do like a second screen placement of that same advertisement. That's one. But also very interesting is like what we also do is competitive blunting. So when you have the BMW advertisement on the first screen, you can also start buying, let's say, advertising for Mercedes or let's say competitive brands, right? So that's a very interesting proposition where we see Xaxis doing, you know, a lot of good work, but also other companies like Omnicom and IPG.
So tell me how IP dress threads into that, right? As an identifier, right? Because we don't have PIA anywhere around television, or PII rather. You know, we don't have any of that. So the only really UID that we have with which to deliver a target on digital as a reach or a frequency extension is to use an IP address. How's that, you know, math sort of, like, how does that decisioning work into it? Yeah,
so first of all, so we are a data company, right? So in the end, we don't hold a position in media, so it's up to, let's say, the Xaxis or the Acuren or Cateron, so they actually buy the media. So what they do typically in a TV sync campaign, so they take our signal as a real-time signal to kind of start and stop the digital buying, right? What they then additionally do, they get, let's say, information about, let's say, if somebody is on Wi-Fi, yes or no. So the whole thinking behind it, if you're on Wi-Fi, then probably you're at home, and when you're at home during prime time, it's very likely that at some point you're in front of the television, right? So what we're seeing is they're using all kind of, let's say, third-party data from the ecosystem to get a more accurate, deterministic approach of reaching that particular audience.
And how are they measuring success?
A very simple measurement is like click-through, right? So they can, let's say, see what the average click-through rate is, let's say, for a certain type of campaigns. And when they start doing, let's say, TV stick advertisements, what they see is that they can just measure, okay, we just get like a 50% lift in click-throughs, right?
Right. So the expectation is that if there's multiple exposures and they're sequential and timed appropriately, then the level of engagement or the performance of the media improves.
That's
right?
correct. Yeah.
So, I mean, are you finding that it's digital buyers that are interested in drafting off of the value of television?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that because they want to see it at the table? Is that because the TV buyers are encouraging them to do so? Are they in any way, shape, or form coordinating with TV buyers? Like, how's the whole team playing working within the agency?
They don't. That's kind of the short answer. You know, what I found was like very surprising to me. You know,
I love the Dutch. So you know.
It's like super like siloed, right?
Yeah.
So and that's kind of like the reason for our existence, because like there is almost no data, let's say, or let's say they don't talk to each other, right? So as a result of that, we can use our data to kind of, let's say, make that link and bridge that gap between TV and digital in real time. Right. So there is very little communication between digital and TV, at least that's what we're seeing in the meetings that we have.
So where do you what's the product look like, right? Do you think it's continually, is the primary core value proposition for it around serving advertising and reach and frequency extension, or, you know, what's the value proposition to broadcasters? Is there one? Like how does the product evolve to kind of enable economic value creation for the entirety of the value chain?
Yeah, so definitely it's like amplify, let's say, the message, right? So you see, let's say, Nike on the first screen, within 3 seconds you see Nike on the second screen. That's really like a really good way of amplifying your message. Right. But in addition to that, it's also like a reach tool, right? So you can, let's say, create additional reach, and on top of that, the frequency.